Hello and welcome to the Animation Kimmunication podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join your host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Lauren Kizich, the Abbey Roadie, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to support by giving a like, a follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word and keep being a part of a great community. This episode is appropriate for all ages.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Animation Kimmunication podcast, featuring yours truly, Abbey Roadie, and KP. And we're going to start off with some fun, exciting news. Yeah, I know, we're actually getting some animation news in the middle of quarantine. It's picking back up again, guys.
Yeah,
even with all of us still closed up, we're getting news. So we're trying to get that to you guys.
Yeah, this is a long episode, so luckily there's not. I mean, I don't want to say luckily, but there's not a lot of stories this week, essentially, because you get to hear cosplay rambles, and it's good and it's good times, yo. But okay, well, what are the stories, Lauren?
So anyway,
tell me about them, all two of them.
Yes. So here's the sitch. So as we may have mentioned, if you may recall from another podcast, I did mention Tony Bancroft and Scott Sava's Animal Crackers movie, which went through distribution hell years ago, and it got okayed for it basically had a deal with Netflix, and now it's going to be released on Netflix this year. Original plan was for September release. The news just broke that they bumped it to July 24th. Now, that's pretty much around the corner, given the time of this episode. So that's awesome, and I'm all the more hyped to see it because I've been waiting years for it, and I know a lot of people have too, given that it was only released in China, and then maybe like one other region, and that was about it because the distributor put them through hell to try and get it to the States, even though it's an English film. Go figure that out.
And this is a kids approved episode. Say heck.
Hell is play. Are you really gonna into development heck? Does that really sound any better? Okay,
I got a heck and heck.
Okay, because they went through development messes. I shouldn't say no. Sorry, because they went through distribution messes. They were only released in China and maybe like one other region, and so a lot of people were waiting for this movie to come to the States. Especially, it's funny because it is an English film. Like, it was made to be an English film, and then it was like, dubbed over, and subtitled for different, regions in different countries. But yeah, so I'm excited. Especially because I've been waiting years for it. So
what is the plot?
The plot is this guy. Basically his dad owned a circus, and he inherits this circus. And it turns out that the circus also comes with a box of magical animal crackers. Now, I say magical animal crackers, and that's because the animals in the circus are not actually animals at all. They are people. They're like performers that eat the crackers and turn into animals for the show. So there's actually so this is to avoid the whole, I guess, animal taboo of, in circuses. But yeah, so it's actually the animal performers are actually people performers who eat the crackers. And that's just a general gist. It started from a small short film that went viral years ago. And basically they took that story and adapted it to a full feature-length film. So, yeah.
What if they run out of crackers?
See, I don't know the answer to that part either. Because apparently the box of animal crackers has been around forever, and it's magical, so I'm assuming it just doesn't run out of crackers. I don't know.
The people are breeding, and they produce like cracker children, and that's how the cycle continues.
Cracker children. So there's like little baby elephant crackers in there running around with the elephant mother, and anyway,
we gotta fill in the plot holes somehow.
we'll get our answer on July 24th, I guess. So.
Okay, what's the other story?
And then the other story is also another Netflix animation news. The trailer for Glenn Keane's Over the Moon film dropped this week. So basically it's a story about a girl who I guess you can call it like the dead mom story, where kids like misses their dead parent, and then they want to go find the parent. They don't believe they're dead. They just feel like they disappeared. And so it's supposed to be a whole magical story about this little girl who was told the story about her mother, how she went to the moon, and she trapped there and was never able to come back. And she believes the story, and she actually tries to get herself to the moon to go find her mother. And it's actually CG animated, and it has some 2D, as far as the trailer is able to show, it has some 2D animated segments, so obviously Glenn Keane had a hand in that. But it looks really interesting. I'm really intrigued to see where it does go with the movie, and especially with a plot line like that. So as far as I know, it looks really good, really promising, and there's a cute bunny that is her pet that goes with her. I think that's cute.
It's just like Spot didn't die, he went on the farm. This is like the mom equivalent of like going to the farm.
She's stuck on the moon with Princess Luna. I don't know.
This is a horse heavy episode for those who don't horse. So forewarning in advance, if you don't like horse, there's I translate, so me and Lauren can speak horse, nay. But
for Over the Moon, there is no set date yet. We just know it's 2020 when it'll be released. So sometime this year, maybe it'd be like, I anticipate maybe October, November, possibly. So we'll see. And so obviously being Netflix, it's gonna go straight to kind of that. It's straight to streaming services, so you don't have to wait for theatrical release. But yeah, and then I was gonna say I do have a plug. I'd like to make a plug here.
Okay, can I do a Glenn Keane tangent before you plug?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Glenn Keane, for those who do not know, is I think probably between him and Steven Silver are probably my biggest artistic inspirations, like to the point where like you subconsciously are consuming a lot of art. So he did a lot of characters. Most famously, correct me if I'm wrong, Lauren, but he designed Ariel, right?
Actually, he animated on Ariel, but if I recall, he didn't actually design Ariel. I believe that was Dan Haskett who designed Ariel.
Okay.
And so, but he did animate the Beast.
Yeah.
He did animate Tarzan. And he's done a million characters, but I'm trying to select the few that I know for certain that he worked on. And he's an for all of who don't know, Glenn Keane was a Disney animator. Is a former Disney animator. So he was a Disney animator, but is a former Disney animator. He even made a short film with Kobe Bryant that a lot of people revisited, especially after Kobe's unfortunate passing. And he did an animated film that actually won. I believe it won at the Oscars. It won an Annie's.
Yeah,
too.
it won. I think it won the animated. It won the animated
basketball. That's what it's called.
Yeah, it won the animated short category of the year, and they also got John Williams to do the score for it. So I'm just like, man, Lauren, we need John Williams in our projects, and then we'll win all the Oscars. But yeah, Glenn Keane is the man. Essentially, I love the way he animates stuff in general. He just knows what he's doing generally. He also, his daughter Claire was the main influence for Rapunzel, Disney's Rapunzel. I think he helped design, I might be wrong, but I think he helped design Rapunzel's character like at least 2D first, because I know she was designed two-dimensionally before they translated 3D. And he also was the head animator on my boy John Silver from Treasure Planet. So which I bet you didn't know.
AKA one of the most impossible to animate characters ever, given that he's also part CG.
Yeah, rip. So when I went to, this was one year when I was in San Francisco, we went to the Disney Family History Museum, which, I could have stayed longer because, like, I hate everything, essentially, that unless it has to do with animation or history in general or, art and literature, to the point where I beat my whole family combined on Trivial Pursuit. But anyway, take me to trivia, I'm good at trivia. But anyway, but yeah, they had a Glen Keane exhibit, and, they had like some of his original Ariel keyframes there, which was amazing. And he also animated, I believe he animated Ratigan on
Yes.
Great Mouse Detective 2. So I think this exhibit was mainly I think he animated the eagle thingy in Rescuers Down Under.
Yes, you are also correct on that. Yes.
The eagle thing. What's the name of the eagle?
Well, it was it was the name's on the tip of my tongue. It'll come back to me in a second. It's, I swear it starts with a name. It starts with a M or something. No, it starts with a name. Duh.
Okay, it's fine. Yeah, but he animated the eagle thing.
I think it was.
You can
Marahute. That's right. Marahute.
Okay, yeah, that's something I would not have guessed. But anyway, so
I was like, it starts with an M, and I was like, Marahute.
But for those who have not seen Rescuers Down Under, which is one of the very few Disney sequels that actually is part of the main canon of Disney animation studios, that and Frozen 2, I think, and Wreck-It Ralph 2 are the only ones, really. Everything else is straight to video. But yeah, it's Rescuers Down Under is kind of very repetitive of the original, but Eagle Thing has some really beautiful animation. So, and it's neat. If you like Australia, it's like Kangaroo Jack, but better. But yeah, and so at the museum, they also had the Lauren, I'm blinking, what is the thing that where this little...
Yeah, that's helpful.
I'm wording. What are the things that the animators use for, like, reference, like, little models of the characters?
Maquettes.
A maquette, okay. Yeah. So they actually had one of Silver's maquette at the museum, and I was just, like, very happy about that. So, anyway. Okay, that's my spiel. So, do your plug.
Okay, so now for the plug. Yeah, not entirely sure when specifically this episode will be uploaded, but I might as well plug anyway, and I'll be plugging it on my Twitter as well. Is my little sister from another mister. She goes by Cosmic Keyframe on Twitter. But yeah, my sister Chrissy, she made awesome Steven Universe dog tags in partnership with My Little Ties, who is an incredible, he does incredible engravings and metalwork and stuff like that. And so so they make these special edition dog tags with the diamonds and Steven basically on each dog tag. And they come in two different variants. There's the regular, I believe the regular silver variant, and there is a rainbow variant. So there is actually a rainbow finish on the metal dog tag. And I highly recommend going in and pre-ordering the rainbow ones because they're really pretty and fit Steven Universe to a T. So if you want to get yourself some amazing, uniquely designed dog tags that you can collect, that you can wear, anything you'd like with them, definitely give a follow to Cosmic Keyframe on Twitter, also to My Little Ties, and DM Chrissy about it because she's accepting pre-orders right now for the dog tags. And so yeah, hit her up for some awesome artwork because I'm so proud of how her designs turned out. They look really, really nice. She's so talented. I'm so proud.
Yeah, and I like Christy too. And the other thing is, my Latai is also a really chill guy. I order some of my merch from him that isn't just like bundles and prints. So like if for people who are old school and have the like the wooden keychains thingies with my horse on them, then he made those. He made some like silver necklaces that aren't exactly dog tags with my art on them. And then he made a couple of shell inlay necklaces that I don't think I have. I think I sold all of them at this point. But yeah, so he's generally a really cool guy, and then he will do things for charity too. So everyone loves Igor. They're both good people. So give them your money.
Anyway, that's my plug, and I think that ends our news segment. So anyway, back to the show.
Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Animation Kimmunication. Still in quarantine. We'll probably still be in quarantine for a long time. So if you've made it this far, you've listened to the news segment of like the 3 stories we had because Hollywood is shut down because still kind of. I mean, a lot of people are working remotely if you don't know how animation works, but it's fine. It's fine. But anyway, we have guests. We have 3 guests here, and we're going to talk about stuff. Okay, so I guess we'll go Lochlan, Sarah, Shelby. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'll direct the question. I'll direct the question to all of you guys, and then you'll just do order. And it's pretty chill here in the KP house. I don't know, so feel free to rambling is relatively fine, so don't feel bad about that.
Sweet.
Okay.
We're good.
Yeah, that's what like I always keep on saying it, like that's what podcasts are for. If people don't that's what you do. If you don't have a talent, you have a podcast and you ramble about stuff. So not that none of us are particularly untalented, but just like some people in general, I don't have skills, so I can talk on the internet. So
For his skill.
Now, how about everybody introduce themselves? Let's go around the circle and introduce ourselves here.
Sure. So I guess I'll start. My name is Lachlan O'Neill. I have been cosplaying since I was 15. So I'm not exactly sure how long that is. I think maybe
7 years?
8 years. I don't know what time is anymore. But I really started cosplaying in around, I think, 2012 full time. My first ever cosplay was actually Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony. And I wore it to a rabbit convention. I was going to the American Rabbit Breeders Association of America convention in Indianapolis.
Oh, like an actual rabbit. An actual rabbit convention.
Okay.
That's cool.
It was over
That's great.
Halloween too. And I was receiving an award for top rabbitry management in the state. Or not in the state, in the region, in the whole region of the South. So I was receiving a big award. And I thought, hey, it's Halloween, and I just heard about this new thing called cosplay. And I want to try it. So I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I want to cosplay Pinkie Pie at a rabbit convention. And he was like, well, I'm sorry, what? And he had already driven me to the rabbit convention. He was like, people don't, that sounds like a Comic-Con thing. And I said, I don't care. I heard that people cosplay at conventions. I think I was 14. So I was 14. I'm going to cosplay at this rabbit convention. So I put on my My Little Pony shirt, and he took me to rent a wig. We went to
rented a
wig.
wig. You rented.
We rented
Wow.
I didn't even know
a wig.
that was possible. That's so cute.
And so I wore it, and I wore the Pinkie Pie wig all around this rabbit convention. I didn't wear it when I was accepting the award at the fancy gala, but I absolutely was singing the At the Gala song in the Pinkie Pie voice at this fancy event with all of these geneticists and whatnot. So I was an embarrassment. But my first convention cosplay, my first convention experience, I actually convinced my dad to buy me a wig. And this was in high school, so I was in 9th grade, I was 15. And Sarah and I actually went to the same high school. And I saw a wig in the window, a pink wig, and it was curly, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want that. And this was on Main Street in downtown Columbia.
Oh, yeah.
I'd never been in...
We know what wig store you're talking about.
And I saw this beautiful pink wig. I said, Daddy, I want that wig, please. And he bought it for me, and I did not take it off, like, for months.
Valid.
Because being Pinkie Pie, this was my first real wig, because it was expensive too.
Yeah, that wig shop.
And it was off color. It was off color for Pinkie Pie, but I didn't care. And I got a news article. It was in the Free Times, and it said Nashicon. It's an anime convention, and my dad just busts into my room one day, slaps the Free Times down, and says, "You're gonna go to your first convention. I'm not gonna go because I don't want to, but I will drop you off. I will drop you off, and you can stay there. You can stay there all day and make some friends." Because up until then, my dad had just gained full custody of me, and he didn't know what was going on. I was a teenage girl, and I loved ponies, and I wanted to be Pinkie Pie. And he was so confused. So he was like, you know what? I will leave you at this con all day. Just go talk to ponies, to somebody else. So I put on my Pinkie Pie wig, and I put on a pink, like, Aeropostale shirt and some pink booty shorts and my Converse, and I made paper pony ears with a Sharpie. And I looked terrible, but I felt the most beautiful I have ever been in my life. I felt gorgeous. And I showed up at the convention, and the first person I saw was Kelly. And Sarah, I think you know Kelly.
Her so much when I coined.
And she was dressed up as Pinkie Pie, and she sang a song to me, introduced herself, and gave me a card that said, "You're invited to Pinkie Pie's special party." And on the back, it was like, "This is a fake invitation, but this is just for fun." But I still have it in my little convention memory box. And all of just the absolute kindness I received in the community, even though I looked like a hot mess, just
we all have to start somewhere.
It sent me over the edge with joy. It's like, oh my gosh, I finally feel like I belong somewhere. I never felt that feeling in my life, and going to Nashicon and feeling like I fit in, it just was such a new experience, and it was so wonderful, and I just decided I was going to do it forever.
Adorable.
Yay.
So cute.
That really highlights the beauty of cosplay too, because we all kind of like begin somewhere, and even if we may not look like quote unquote put together, like you're having fun and you're expressing yourself and making connections and meeting new people. And that's the beauty of cosplay. That's the beauty of the community, and that's like such an integral part of what we do, which obviously we will elaborate on later on. But even just like to kind of
that's all of our little baby Genesis stories.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, yeah.
Why don't we backtrack? Why don't you guys define cosplay?
So, as someone who is actually teaching a class to like 10, 12-year-olds right now, cosplay is the combination of the words costume and roleplay. It came from a Japanese term coined in like the 1940s or something. I don't know. It back in the day, before there were actual conventions for like anime and stuff, there were science fiction conventions in like the early 1900s. People would make fan costumes and just go do the thing. And then Japan was like, we're going to coin a term for that. It's called cosplay. So that's what we do.
And so Sarah and Selby, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sarah, go for
that.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I go by Serendipity Cosplay on all of my different social media. I've been cosplaying for about 7.5 years. And I'm a licensed cosmetologist. I do hair and makeup professionally. That goes from like hair color cuts, bridal makeup, bridal hair, prom hair. I guess within the cosplay community, my strong suits are definitely more with the makeup and the wig styling. That caters more into my passions, and that's just sort of where I put a lot of my um, focus, and I feel like I really thrive. But of course, I'm still, learning and growing in my, foam smithing and, sewing and all of that. But that's kind of where my niche is, I guess, within the cosplay community, which is another thing. There's many different ways and focuses within cosplay. Um, but for me, I had a relatively sort of similar story to Lachlan. My first character I ever cosplayed actually was Pinkie Pie as well. I didn't get my wig in a store. I actually got it on eBay. I literally searched for hundreds and hundreds of wigs, and I was like, I have to find the right color because I was just so particular of getting that perfect pinky shade. And I just remember like getting it in the mail, and I still have the video on my old laptop from high school of me putting on my wig for the first time, and that was like my first cosplay wig I've ever gotten. And oh my gosh, it's so funny watching because I had no idea how to put on like the netted wig cap, and it was like just stuck on my face. I didn't use any bobby pins, I don't think. It was just, oh gosh.
You wore it to school once
I
too.
did.
It was so cute.
We had Spirit Week, and we had like a superhero day, and I was like, you know what? Pinkie Pie's my superhero, so I'm going to be Pinkie Pie. And so they took pictures of me. They didn't put it in the yearbook, and that probably was a good thing because it was very cringy. But, I had fun, and I felt pretty, and that's all that matters. So that was a fun experience. My first convention was BonsaiCon 2012, and that actually, Lachlan had an Ask a Pony panel, and she had invited me to be part of it because we both went to the same high school. And we were talking about, she's like, I'm going to be Fluttershy, and I'm going to be emceeing this panel, and you should be Pinkie. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I ended up being late to the convention. I had some family matters show up, so I was a little bit behind. But I just like rolled into the con. I didn't even get my badge. I just like went straight for whatever. I think it was like panel room B or something. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's Pinkie!" And I'm like, "I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing." And I'm like freaking out. And I got to chase people around and as Pinkie, and I just answered questions, and it was a lot of fun. That was like the first thing I've ever done at a convention in cosplay. Like I wore my cosplay one time to school, and then like the first time at a convention, I was just like, okay, I'm in a panel. I don't even know what a panel is. I'm just here. Oh, people are asking us questions. Okay, I'll just be as in character as possible and try not to crap my pants. So
And it worked. That was the first ever Ask a Pony panel ever.
that's fun.
It was the first ever Ask. It was at BonsaiCon 20 in the old days.
We made crusty
That
history.
was the that was the first ever Ask a Pony panel, and it was Sarah and I, we were both on it, and my friend Erin was on it too. And yesterday was our friendship anniversary.
Aww.
But the panel was kind of super cringy.
I mean,
And
it was the
I
first
think-
of its time, so.
I mean, at the time, Sarah and I, we were making history. I mean, everybody who attended was just so excited to have something like that it didn't even matter how embarrassing it was looking back now. But, at the time, it was innovative.
Beautiful way to put it. You're giving us way too much credit.
Since
Yeah,
then,
before you knew
how
it-
many Ask a Pony panels have we done?
At least 10. I mean, we've done all sorts of different variations.
I mean, we do like 3 per convention.
Yeah, I
at
know. Like, there's
least.
too many.
Haven't you done like the Tea with the
Yes.
Princesses kind of
Yeah.
stuff where it
love
was
doing
like
that.
We
yeah.
did that in Colorado too. There's so many.
For people that don't speak horse, I just wanted to clarify.
that's
So
good.
the
I'm
Ask
glad.
a Pony the
Nice.
Ask a Pony panel is basically where all the cosplayers. I'm not particularly a cosplayer, obviously. Lochlan wants me to try to dress up sometime, but anyway.
Please.
I mean, if you get the costume ready, sure, whatever.
Okay, good. I will.
But anyway, so it's kind of like a princess party, except it's a panel. So like everyone comes into a room, and all the girls are in these great like, anthro costumes, I guess, because they're ponies, so they're like human versions of the characters, with little ears, and then they answer questions in character, pretending to be the characters, and that's generally the gist. I think the variations, like, correct me if I'm wrong, or like a group of characters that are sisters, or a group of characters that are princesses, like, whatever the convention needs specifically. But yeah, and then Shelby, don't forget to introduce yourself too. So.
I won't. I was just waiting for my turn. Hi, I'm Shelby, Shelbeanie Cosplay. Most of my little tags are either Shelbeanie Cosplay or Shelbeanie143, depending on what is available. So I've been cosplaying since 2008, but I've been sewing since 2002. I've been sewing since I was 12, because as a kid, my mom would sew, and I was fascinated by it. And so every year she'd be like, "What do you want to do for Halloween?" And almost every year she would make a costume for me. And it got to the point where I was like designing my own variation on Princess Jasmine's costume for my mom to make. And then my mom got tired of it and said, "Hey, guess what? You're getting sewing lessons for your birthday." And that was the end of my mom making costumes for me. But yeah, I've been sewing for the majority of my life at this point. I've been cosplaying longer than the children that I'm teaching right now have been alive, which is great.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm also a makeup artist. I've been doing people's makeup and selling makeup for a couple of years. My main goal is to be a voice actor, because voices are really what draws me into most mediums, and it's something that I just really love doing. I love focusing on voices and trying something new and getting into character. Those are the things that I really like. So I like that cosplay combines all of those aspects for me. It gives me the opportunity to make something with my hands, and a lot of times with cosplay, if I don't know how to do something, I figure it out. I hit things until they start to work, and then I like the aspect of getting to find a character that I relate to, so I can figure out those different improv activities that we're going to do in character, and then focusing on the voice so that you can do that for an extended period of time. I've had like exactly 3 shows hit me, like My Little Pony, and it's My Little Pony, and then Gravity Falls, and now DuckTales has hit me pretty hard. Man, oh, DuckTales.
Dipping down for Della Duck.
Oh,
Is it a hashtag now?
Dipping down for Della.
Dippin' ducks.
Oh, Della. I love her so much.
We're nerds.
You're in the right place. This is like,
Oh, lit.
okay, so I'll do more questions, I guess. So, like, I guess the fun question, I'll go a little bit out of order, and if Lauren, you think of questions too, please tell me to shut up. So can you, like, I don't know if you guys,
Okay.
for people that are listening and not Googling stuff, because, cosplay is a really visual thing, obviously. Like, I'm always, like, flabbergasted, because, like, all 3 of you guys are, like, really amazing, and, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and, like, Sarah looks like she's buying prom dresses for her, like, horse cosplays as princesses and stuff like that, and I'm like, yo, where do they get all this money to buy this stuff, yo? Like, I'm just here.
It's called the thrift store.
Oh, that is my heaven.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess that's...
Yep. No.
So I suppose that answers one of the questions I was going to ask, which was, where do you find your cosplay materials?
Again, it's a little bit of going to Joann's, shopping on eBay,
Amazon.
a lot of times I've straight up made costumes out of bed sheets and curtains before.
Mhm.
So
Me too. And see, I'm going to fashion school, or I'm almost done with my fashion degree, and a lot of my fashion materials actually came from dead people. And I know that sounds
Oh,
really
wow.
weird, but when I was going to school in Colorado, old people would die
as they do.
as they do, and their families would be like, okay, I have all of this really, really nice fabric from grandma and all of these sewing supplies, and I don't want this. I don't sew. So they would donate it to my university. And that is how I got a lot of really good fabric. I got some very expensive raw silk, like a lot of it. And I got just all kinds of different beautiful fabrics and beautiful trims and zippers and pins and supplies and shears and really anything that I needed from dead people.
They're not using
And
it.
there's it's true. Well, there's a lot of stigma around, using the stuff of dead people. And a lot of people at my school didn't want those supplies, even though they were great and amazing, just because, somebody had died. And I wasn't worried about that. I wasn't worried about having a haunted cosplay.
God. I mean,
gosh,
it's not
that
like
sounds like
just-
the
they-
best
they-
panel ever.
But it's not like they died in the
My-
clothes that you were actually getting. It's just their wardrobe,
Or
Right,
just their fabric
exactly.
stash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or their fabrics. And I mean, sometimes they would bring in their wardrobe if they had, pretty dresses that could be altered. And I would use those too. My Demera Megado cosplay from Homestuck is actually 100% made out of fabric that belonged to a dead grandma. So, yeah,
Wow.
and that character is not really probably the most family friendly, so I apologize to whoever's dead grandma had to be made into a sailor schoolgirl Homestuck
Oh
troll
my god, it
uniform.
sounds like you're like at gaining her, where you're just like, I made her clothes or I made her skin into cosplays.
I know, but it did freak a lot of people out that I was making costumes out of materials that belonged to the deceased, just because there's such a taboo around using things or bringing like machines or stuff into your house that were used maybe in the room where somebody died. And that's, Rachel and I, we talk about death a lot, so it's not something that really concerns me, but that is how I've saved a whole lot of money. That and the thrift store. So the thrift store was actually right across from my school back in Colorado and right next to the Casa Bonita. So if I didn't get all my free fabrics from the university, then I could just run over to the thrift store at any time and get whatever I needed. I was in the thrift store constantly. I would get patterns. I think patterns are the biggest thing that I got from the thrift stores, because you can find some really, really good vintage patterns too. And my whole thing as a fashion
Right.
designer and as a cosplayer, I love vintage inspired clothing. So that's something that's great for me. If I can find an actual pattern from the 50s, if I can find actual dresses from the 50s that I can alter and make work for a cosplay or just for a fashion design in general, then that's amazing, because I don't have a lot of money. I have to pay for college. I have to pay for bills. I moved to Africa. I live in Africa.
What time is it
now.
for you, Lochlan, right now?
It is 5:04 a.m. I woke up at 4 a.m. I am currently sitting in bed, but I'm happy to be here, and I love you guys. So
Ooh.
The things
Well,
she does.
Jumping back on the thrift store thing, I think that thrift stores are actually a great place to find costume pieces, not only because you can find unique costume pieces, but because it helps with the whole fast fashion trend. Because there's
Yes.
so many places where you can go and you can buy clothes like Forever 21 and H&M. You can get them real cheap, but it's contributing to the waste in our environment. So going to the thrift store and using things that have had a previous life and are now going to get a new life in your cosplay or your work, it definitely helps a lot with our environment. So that's a nice thing.
yes.
It's also a good place to start for beginners too, especially if you feel like you would have a specific budget and maybe you're not comfortable sewing something 100% from scratch. You can find a lot of like really solid pieces or even materials like my Princess Luna, my new costume I made, my bodice. I got that from a dress at Goodwill. there's like different pieces that you can modify. Like you just got a jacket that you're like modifying to do for Adora from
Yeah.
She-Ra. So like there's a bunch of different opportunities there at Goodwill, and sometimes you'll just like find a piece and that's it. You found your pants that you need, or the shoes, or the jewelry, and that is like the most satisfying thing because it's like you didn't even have to work for it. You just walked in and walked out, and you have magic in your arms and a smile on your face. Life is good. You're living the dream.
Man,
So.
I will say, since I've started doing TikTok, I've done like 10 to 15 costumes in the past month, and it's all been just like closet cosplays from Goodwill. And they're pretty solid considering the fact that it's just like you're spending a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there, and you have a full cosplay. It highly recommend thrift stores.
Yeah, like I mean, I know, but people are like, "Oh, you're
too.
spending so
Yeah,
much on like costumes, or you have to spend hundreds of dollars." You don't have to do that. There's ways to cut corners, and I mean, and that's okay. There's no shame in that. There's nothing wrong with doing it on a budget. It's actually kind of smart. So more power to you if you try it.
That being said, have spent hundreds of dollars on
yeah,
costumes
that's
before.
I mean, you don't have to do that to be a real cosplayer. Like you
Yeah.
can whip it out of your closet too. Like that's perfectly fine.
I actually find it more satisfying the less money I spend on a costume, to be honest.
Oh yes, something under $100. Great.
And I love building big, sparkly cosplays. I loved my pre-marina. I love hand drafting every pattern and blah, blah, blah. But it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And there's such a belief in the cosplay community. There's a lot of elitism that I'm not a fan of, where it's, if you don't make every single aspect of your costume, if you don't cast every single resin gem, if you don't pattern everything and make it perfect, then you are not a real cosplayer and you don't deserve to be here to compete or whatever. And that is just so harmful because, yeah, sometimes I will make costumes where I hand cast every resin gem and hand sew everything and use a ladder stitch and hand, just do all the fancy couture fashion stuff. But I love to closet cosplay. I have a lot more fun. It's fun to go thrift shopping. It's fun to find things on sale. It's, it's fun, and cosplay should be fun too. It's not all about perfection and modeling and couture. And as somebody who's provided wardrobe for sets, for music videos, real costume designers, we don't sew everything. So much of costume designing is basically closet cosplaying. It's going to the thrift store. It's going to estate sales. It's altering things. I use a lot of the skills that I learned from closet cosplaying, distressing things, painting, using fabric dyes, and I use that in my jobs now. I mean, I'm not working now, clearly, because I'm on lockdown, and for the past 2 months, I was not even allowed to leave my house. But, that's the thing. The elitism in the cosplay community is just run rampant, and it's kind of sucked the fun out of it all. So when I come back, cosplay is just gonna be fun.
Have fun.
I'm just gonna have fun with it now.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway in general. But backtracking a little bit. So, how do you guys, because I know a lot of you guys are, like Sarah can like professionally do like legit stuff, like, just an example. So like, how do you guys gain your skills / where would you suggest maybe like 14, 13-year-olds, if they're like, I want to make a costume, but I don't know how to sew, I don't know how to do makeup, like, I don't know if there's like some secret cosplay website that you guys like all like used or something like that.
Actually, yeah, we do. We have a super secret website. It's called YouTube. I'm not joking though. Like, I go on YouTube all the time to look up different makeup looks or techniques. Hot glue has been a hot commodity for quick costumes. I mean, if you just want to turn a seam under and then stick some hot glue on it and hold it till it dries, that's a really easy way to fake sewing. I haven't had a working sewing machine since BronyCon, since before BronyCon. I had to hand sew a lot of my costumes for BronyCon this year. So I did like a full project with the Goodwill down in Charleston where I had to do like 3 costumes a week, and I didn't sew except for hand sew or serging anything. Everything I used was like stitch witchery or some other kind of like iron on thing. So there are plenty of ways to get around not being able to sew.
There are tutorials everywhere, and that's what YouTube is great for. Because I mean, I've gone onto YouTube to learn how to make foam armor. My Nightmare Moon costume was the first costume where I did like actual full-on foam pieces. So that was something that was, very useful for me. And even like on DeviantArt or Pinterest, anywhere, just looking it up, like cosplayers nowadays have a really huge fortune because now we have so much information and so many different techniques at our fingertips. Like all you have to do is just put in the effort to search for it, but it's there. I feel for cosplayers like 10, 20, 40 years ago that really just didn't have access to all the resources that we have now. Like now Michael's is selling EVA foam and stuff like that. And I'm like, what? You mean to tell me they have like, a specific cosplay section at Joann's? Like that wasn't even something like 8 years ago.
It wasn't. That's
so
so
it's,
new.
it's really growing, and it's really, really cool. So, I mean, I promise you can find tutorials for almost anything out there. Or you might even like find someone online that you can ask questions. I know many cosplayers who are, including us, who are more than welcome to answer questions that people might have, give some encouragement, teach a thing or two. Like that's why we do panels, and I know some conventions like film them. That way you can get some information that way and see what is out there just to sort of get started. Like it's really just a big, vast world out there. So don't ever feel kind of like lost. If anything, I'd be more scared because there's so much information. It's like, like where do I go?
It can be a little overwhelming sometimes.
Right.
But I know like Arda has a YouTube channel, so you can learn how to style and take care of your Arda wig, which is specifically for cosplay from Arda or from cosplayers who have worked with them. Like, there are so many resources out there that are catered specifically to our wants, needs, and interests. And honestly, like, whenever I'm looking for inspiration for makeup, I just will, like, type in something crazy and watch a video, and then I have an inspiration to do something completely different. The world is amazing now.
A lot of the stuff can be very character specific, too. It may not even be, like, a general wig thing. Like, you can, like, I want to cosplay as Mother Gothel. How do I curl a Mother Gothel wig? And so it'll even like give you like a step-by-step like how to cut her little baby hairs that are her little face framing pieces and whatnot. Like there's a whole bunch of different, it's really cool. So like you can even like bring it down to the character in a lot of cases to find like more niche areas of tutorials that you're looking for. So
technology.
I love it. And so Pinterest for me is something that I'm in love with.
that's cute.
And I didn't always used to be this way, but after going to fashion school, where we have to make all of these mood boards and concept boards and save images and really do everything to make a fashion line or make a costume line for like professional costume design. But I also use Pinterest for cosplay. I have so many cosplay inspiration boards just filled with tutorials, and it's so easy to organize. I love Pinterest so much.
That's me on Instagram.
So,
I have like
yes,
albums
no, with
saved.
Instagram.
Yeah.
I have so much saved. Just use the bookmark function.
Guys, the number of things I've found on TikTok,
Yeah, TikTok's
I
useful,
have been
too.
surprised that I found a make your own fabric paint with acrylic paint and like fabric softener
I'm sorry, what?
thing. Okay, so
Dangerous information.
forewarning, it does take a lot of mixing, and you do have to mix water in there, and you pretty much have to constantly mix it. But I did my Louis hoodie, which was like a teal color that would not dye. I tried so hard to get it to dye, but I mixed the fabric paint, the fabric softener, and the water, and I painted that whole thing, and by golly, that thing was opaque, and it smells like a grandma, because it was
you mean Goodwill?
no, Sarah, you haven't walked up into my costume room, but you walk up there, and because of the summer heat and the fact that there's no air conditioning there,
It smells like Grandma Bertha.
It does.
I don't even have a Grandma Bertha.
But yeah, no, guys, fabric softener, acrylic paint, and water. It is. I was surprised.
That sounds amazing. See, when I first got here over the summer, I was, because it's winter right now, because I'm near the South Pole. Penguins live here. But we were doing things with natural dyes. So I was boiling like lettuce and celery and kale and crushing up bug wings and doing all of this weird hippy dippy dye stuff to dye a dress green. And my whole house, because again, this summer heat, it's January and it's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and I have my windows open, and it's like my whole house smells like just disgusting soup. The dress is so pretty, and it's sparkly because of the iridescent bug wings. My house smells like soup.
If you do the cooking by the book.
Okay, so I guess the next question, we'll keep it a little short, but what's your most, for each one of you, which has been your most challenging costume to work on?
Ooh, pre-marina.
Okay, describe like the work that
Pre-marina.
put into that, and like what is a pre-marina for people who might not know who that character is.
So, pre-marina is a Pokemon. She is the final evolution of Poplio. So I was doing the whole Poplio evolution project. So I started with Poplio, and then I did Brion, and then I went to pre-marina. And the whole project wasn't supposed to take so long, but I ended up getting really, really, really sick. And so it just kept getting delayed and delayed. And by the time I got to pre-marina, my cosplay skills had grown exponentially. So I was like, okay, I know how to make patterns. I have been in fashion school. I'm going to go to the fabric district. I'm gonna do all of this. So my friend Adam took me to the fabric district in LA, and this is when you and I hung out too,
Okay.
Rachel, because I remember we were trying to shove all my fabric in my suitcase, and I think you had to sit on it while I
That sounds
zipped it
about
up.
right. I don't remember though,
But yeah. And so it was all of these sequins, and working with sequins is a nightmare. We call them craft herpes. I used to get texts. I used to get texts from my professor being like, hey, you need to come sweep up the sequins. I know that you've been in here because I see sequins. Get a vacuum, get a Swiffer. I love you, Lochlan. But I know it's you. I know it's you spreading the craft herpes. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. So, I had to learn how to sew through sequins. So making sure I didn't break needles. I was using industrial machines. So that helped me a whole lot. Because when I was doing Princess Skystar, it did not work out. That didn't work out as much as I planned because I didn't have the industrial machines. I didn't have the skills needed to sew the sequins. But pre-marina, it's like, okay, I did Skystar. I learned from Skystar. Now I know how to do some sequins. And then I did hand cast a bunch of resin gems. I added glitter, and I was really trying to get an effect to make it to make them look real. And I styled the wig, and the wig was big and beautiful. I just put so much effort in that costume. And I wore it at Anime Expo, and I had to have my friend pretty much tape me up so I was not falling out of the costume, because I couldn't really wear a bra underneath it because it was backless, because I'm not the smartest person when it comes to designing. It did fit at the time, but because of my illness, I had lost a lot of weight. So we had to do some emergency fixing in the hotel room. But I worked so hard on that cosplay, and it turned out beautifully. I looked like a disco ball. Like I was just amazing. And yeah, that was the hardest cosplay that I've ever done, and I did it while I was incredibly sick too, but it turned out beautifully, and I am so proud of it.
I'm glad that's the one that you brought up too, because that's probably my most favorite costume that you've made to date. Like, it looked so crisp and clean, and like you could tell, like even in your photos, that you felt confident and that you felt beautiful. Like you could really feel that through your pictures, like because you can see those kinds of things even as a cosplayer viewing another person, like you can tell. So I'm really glad you said that, because it really does show that you put a lot of hard work in that costume. I genuinely mean that. Yeah.
Well, I felt like a goddess in it too.
That's queen.
I was really inspired by Greek mythology
Mhm.
and by Aphrodite, because when designing original costumes, which is what I love to do, it's why I love cosplaying ponies so much.
Mhm.
I love to humanize characters. I love to design costumes. That's my job. I'm a costume designer. So just cosplaying, a character from an anime or something isn't going to do much for me, because I didn't design that outfit. I don't have that same connection to it. But, finding the Greek goddess inspiration, doing research on pinnipeds, on seals, and doing research on ballerinas and opera singers, and pulling it all together for Primarina, because, that's her whole thing. She's a prima donna, she's a singer, and she's also a seal. So I felt amazing in that cosplay, and it definitely showed, especially since I was so sick at the time, and I had accomplished something major,
Mhm.
and I had just found out about me moving to Africa. So, and this was about a year ago. This was around the 4th of July, so it'll be a year ago. This coming 4th, but oh, I'm in love with that costume still.
I guess for me, I guess my most challenging to date would be my Nightmare Moon costume. That was my first foam armor costume, and I was super excited. I remember like when I first got into ponies, I always knew I wanted to eventually cosplay her, but I just had so many different ideas for it. And then I just like one day it hit me in 2017, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And so it took me about 2 years to really finally pull it all together. But I had a lot of difficulties just patterning things from scratch. I was really struggling. I know a lot of people say the same thing, but I differentiate it as craft foam and EVA foam, because to me the EVA foam is the thicker kind. And I was having a lot of issues figuring out how to pattern that and really heat sculpt that. And I didn't really realize that you really had to break down into smaller sections because of how stubborn it is. But I ended up just layering craft foam or using kind of like, I don't know what the literal thickness is, but it's basically like the thickness that's like three sheets of craft foam, but like in one. And just sort of just layering and doing it that way. I mean, I'm sure anybody else would say it was more complicated, but it was easier for me to individually heat sculpt each piece and then layer them. But I did everything from scratch. I used file folders to make the pattern pieces for what I was doing. I finally learned how to use like Plastidip and priming stuff, and like for the bra that I did like dragon scales, and I had like individually cut each little scallop piece and like glued it onto the bra. I did that like in the hotel room after going to a Paramore concert. I was like vibing in the hotel room. And I wanted to have this beautiful iridescent sheen. I'm incredibly picky. Anybody who knows me knows that I have really high standards for my own work. I'm crazy. I'm absolutely insane. And every single iridescent spray paint I found, that I wanted a blue purple shift, every single one had green in it, and I just could not purchase it because there was green, and that wasn't a Nightmare Moon color to me. And so I was working at a hair store at the time, and when I was on one of my shifts, I was just like putting away nail polish because I have like a bunch of cosmetics, and I see this nail polish that had that blue and purple holographic iridescent sheen, and I just was like, am I seriously gonna do this? And I sat there and I was like, I'm crazy. Yes, I'm gonna do this. So all in all, it took me about like 10 bottles. I used 8 bottles of the iridescent, and then I used 2 bottles of this like deep midnight blue to paint literally nail polish layers all over my armor. So I'd have like my base spray painted color, which was like that sky blue, and then I put the layer on top, because the main reason why I wanted to do that iridescent shift was because I could never tell in the animation if her armor was like a light blue or if it was lavender. Was it periwinkle? I don't know. And bronies like to tear apart cosplays, people who don't even cosplay.
Ugh.
And I mean, they can feel how they want. They're entitled to their own opinion, but it does kind of like suck, because it's like, I put all this hard work and you can't even just like let it just exist. Like, why do you have to nitpick?
Like, shut up, dude.
Like, I haven't seen you make a costume by
You don't know
yourself.
what we go through.
So I didn't want someone to be like, why is your armor purple? It's supposed to be blue. Why is your armor blue? It's supposed to be purple. So I was like, I'm gonna just do both. I wanted to do something sparkly and shiny, like Lachlan was saying. Like, it's more fun to have glittery costumes. And I've never worked so hard on that costume, and I almost gave up multiple times, but I was so determined, because we were doing a villains panel that we had been talking about for years. And so I like, the helmet was just, that was very difficult, but I found a way to modify the design to kind of fill in the places where I made mistakes. So I think I did a very good job of hiding them. But I had a lot of fun with the makeup too, and when I like finally looked at myself in the mirror at the convention, I was like, oh, thank God, because I was so scared. It was the most expensive costume I've ever made, and I've never put so much like nitty gritty detail into every single thing. Like, I was like hand placing little gems and crap and just going. And like, I had to modify a couple pieces because it was messing with some of my physical illnesses too. So I had to modify my design last minute, and that was, it was just, I was kind of paranoid about it, but I found a way to kind of make the pieces really modular, so it was easier to take apart and easy to transport, just so I wouldn't, be dying while wearing it, because I try to be as comfortable as I can in my costumes if I can help it. But just seeing that final result and seeing it come together, like, I really felt like I was a different person, and I was really in the shoes of the character. And so even though it was incredibly challenging, it was also very rewarding, because I learned like so much about myself and what I am capable of. And I learned so many skills that I'm excited to put forth in a future project. So, I mean, all in all, it was a really tough experience, but I'm very thankful for it. I'm thankful that I had the resilience within myself to take on the challenge and do something new. That's always really fun within cosplay.
You are so beautiful. I
thank
could
you.
just see all of your hard work. I was like, I had it on my phone, and I would like zoom in and be like, oh yes,
The tiny,
oh yes,
gosh.
yes.
So, oh my gosh, my room smelled like nail polish for 2 weeks. Like, I got back home from BronyCon. I had the windows left open while I was gone at the convention. I told my parents, I was like, do not close these windows, because I was inhaling nail polish. I would go to work, because it took me like 2 or 3 days to finish nail polishing everything, and I was tasting it in my mouth on my lunch break. Like, it was everywhere. So I came back, and for 2 weeks it was still reeking, and I was like, now I know why people tell you to like wear masks and stuff. I probably have like 2 brain cells left, but at least I did the thing. Even though my room probably still smells like nail polish like over a year later, it's fine. But make sure you wear protective gear and open your windows,
Yes.
please.
Oh my gosh.
Please.
Yeah.
I rant about that all the time. I have a professional grade respirator for different
That's what
things.
I
I
need.
have one for organic materials. I have one for like dying naturally. I have one for, working with aerosols.
Mhm.
So you guys are gonna hear my respirator rant, not today, but in person. Because I will
Okay.
I will take
I'm
you
here
I
for
will
it.
take you guys when I get back. I will take both of you to go get some good respirators. Because
Yeah.
girls, we need them so we don't go crazy.
Please and thank you.
I mean,
E6000 kills brain cells. I can't
Oh my
imagine.
goodness.
Like, ugh.
So magical though.
at least the good thing about all this virus stuff are people now have face masks, so when it's over, but
It's just sitting there.
It
on
still
the
isn't
shelf.
quite the same when you're spray painting the
No.
hell out of heckaroni. When you're spray painting the heckaroni out of something, and you're just like surrounded by these fumes. And a lot of times, if you're living in an apartment or something, you can't go to an outer space to do it. Like, you can't go outside. You're stuck
Right.
in your apartment or your bathroom or your little teeny tiny patio, and it's just having a respirator is super helpful.
Please don't die, friends. It's not worth it. Be
Yeah, I
smart.
definitely think when I get back, I want to just run a cosplay safety panel.
We need more of those,
Because
honestly.
I've never seen one.
Well, that's a good idea.
I haven't either.
I would love to run one because
I
you
would
know
help you
I
to do it.
worked in laboratories
Yeah.
and we need to educate people because we cannot keep losing our brain cells.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
You know those PSAs that it's almost like the ones that the company PSAs that people that people buy for like employee safety and stuff. You need to make one for like cosplay
Oh yeah.
to that degree, just be like all the do's and don'ts
Yeah.
of cosplay and safety, and it's like don't do this, and it's like all hot glue gun. Don't do this. Drop hammer on head.
Oh boy. I've had some hot glue I've gotten
Oh, hot
so burned
glue.
by hot glue guns before.
Don't you love when it blisters on your fingers and you still have to do more crafting?
The worst one was when we were making our Christmas sweaters.
Oh,
And I went to go put one of my trees down, and the hot glue got all over my hand, and it was a lot of glue because it was like a 3 or 4 inch tall pine
Ooh.
tree. And I went straight to the sink and like started doing the safety stuff, and then I wrapped this thing in saran wrap, and it was fine the next day, but man, if I hadn't taken care of it immediately, that would have been
atrocious. We did a lot of hot gluing that night.
We
before
did.
our
We did
shift.
so much. We made a whole memory book for no reason.
We just really like Gravity Falls in our little corner of the world.
It's so good.
Yeah, just be careful with like hot anything, especially if you're gonna be like it's gonna be close to your face or close to your hands or anything.
Be careful.
Just be
I-
cautious. I mean, and the burns are inevitable. Just be quick and careful about it. About
Yeah.
tending to
Be careful
it.
with Gorilla Glue too, because that stuff will you can Gorilla Glue your fingers together, and that's really scary. It has happened to me
Oh
before.
my god! In 2 seconds, it'll
It's
happen.
not fun.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Oh, is it my turn?
yes, your turn.
Okay, so I was literally like scrolling through Instagram trying to remember what costumes I've made. Like Sarah can attest, she looked over. I was just like scrolling through because I can't. I've made so many costumes at this point that I can barely remember what I've made. And a lot of times I'm a speed cosplayer, so my strongest point is I look at a costume and I figure out how I can make it in the least amount of time. So a lot of times my builds will take me, sometimes it'll take me 2 weeks, sometimes it'll take me a day. It just depends on what the project is and how much detail there is. I guess the one that I've put the most detail into is my Frozen Fever Anna costume. Because I did Anna and Elsa for, we had a party that we were doing and we had to have them both specifically for that party. And there were like 20 sunflowers that we had to embroider around the skirt, and this was before there was a Frozen Fever pattern because the movie had just come out. Like this was 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
So it had only just come out. The only reference pictures that I had were a little picture book that was a kid's picture book that was like "Happy Birthday, Anna."
Yeah.
That was my entire how I got that costume together. I had to draft the skirt, I had to draft the vest, I had to hand embroider, I had to machine embroider. There's rhinestones on it. The Elsa Cape is I drafted a pattern for it, and then I had to draw out the flower designs on there. And then I put that down on a drop cloth on the ground and then pinned the cape down. And I had to paint it with fabric paint and then put glitter on it and then seal it. And this was for the entire cape. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it was a project for sure, but I mean, the outcome was really beautiful. I know that I've spent more time working on things though, and I'm sure that I have projects that I'm more proud of, but I look at every project that I do as a stepping stone in my journey.
Yeah.
So much of the time I forget how much effort I put into my first Elsa dress because I had to make individual scales out of vinyl and glue that onto the dress. My first Anna dress I made in 2 days. I drew out the designs and went to my friend who had an embroidery machine and we fed the designs in there and like made it all in a day. I don't even know which one I've put the most love and effort into, because at this point I've probably made at least 60 or 70 costumes.
Wow. That's a lot.
So
Yeah, I'm like, I have a picture. I'm like, I'm looking at a picture of your Anna Frozen Fever costume right now, and
yeah,
I'm
it's
just
a
like,
lot of
wow.
detail.
Just the skirt alone, and I'm
Yeah,
just like,
and you can't
oh.
see it, but there are individual rhinestones in the
Mhm.
skirt as well. And
Mm.
I think I had to, I'm not looking at it right now, but I think that there is a line that zigzags around like a bee.
It does, yeah.
And I think there were little bees on it. I had to
Yeah, I
hand
see it.
embroider that because there was no way for me to do that on the machine. Yeah, so it was a
Oh,
lot of
man.
hand embroidery and a lot of machine embroidery.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you, your
amazing.
penspersons. Okay, I had a kind of a question, and then I guess Lauren, you can ask the question after this. I don't know, it doesn't matter. But kind of ad-libbing. So generally, I know people have different etiquette around cosplayers and what to do and what not to do. I was just going to ask your opinion about what you guys would tell people to do and not to do, and what is the correct, like, not really protocol, but like what are the correct manners when like asking for a picture, like stuff that doesn't make things
Mhm.
awkward essentially for any age.
First and foremost, always ask before you take a picture.
Please.
It's not okay for us to be like sitting eating our lunch and you just sort of like sneak a little cell phone picture over there. It's just, we want to be in our best possible position and put together. We don't want to be sprawled out when you're taking a picture. A lot of times, if you just say, "Hey, I really like your costume. Do you mind if I take a picture?" We'll do it. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, always ask. The cosplayer is not the character, so if you're mad at Sunset Shimmer, don't take it out on the
Oh my
poor
gosh.
cosplayer.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a lot.
Yeah.
it is so much. And I mean, like, I mostly choose characters that I relate to. So if somebody wants to ask me a in-character question, I'll answer it in character, especially for kids. But
Yeah.
so much of the time, like, especially in the past, like, 3 or 4 conventions that we've done, people will come up and they're like, "Twilight Sparkle, what do you think of this? Will you be my waifu?" No, I will not. Please, please understand that I am a person too. And I love that you want to roleplay as well, but please also understand how your question made me uncomfortable.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, exactly. Like I had a lot of problems when I cosplay Fluttershy. Because
Oh, that's the worst one.
I'm a very good Fluttershy. I also voice Fluttershy for a lot of KP's projects.
Mhm.
So, I'm a zoologist, among other things. So I'm a pretty good Fluttershy, but it makes me so uncomfortable, the amount of men who think that I'm the real Fluttershy. And I've been first of all, I've been confused for Andrea Libman, which is very flattering. It's very flattering. But when you have people coming around being like, Andrea, will you sign this? I'm like, I'm not Andrea.
Yeah, I get that too
I had
sometimes.
someone ask me that once
Yeah.
when we were walking back from BronyCon. They were talking, and I was like,
Excuse me, I need to move.
And he's like, Andrea? And I'm like,
No, I'm Fluttershy. Excuse me.
I have actually been next to Andrea. I think we were going to dinner or something at Nightmare Nights, and Brony stopped us, and he looked at me and he goes, "Wait a minute, I thought you were Andrea." And then he looks at Andrea and goes, "But you're Andrea?" and all I could think of was like, are there any other Squidwards I need to know about?
Poor Andrew.
But one of the biggest things that kind of gets on my nerves is when people try to stop me for pictures or just to talk. And I love to talk. I'm a very friendly person. But when I'm trying to get back to my hotel room, or if I'm trying to go to dinner, or if I'm trying to spend time with my friends, um, I used to have a lot of people, and I have problems setting up boundaries like this because I never want to be unkind to somebody.
Right.
But when I'm sitting with a group of friends and we're just having a discussion and fans come up and kind of just hover around, and
Yeah.
I don't know how to politely say, "Hey, this is a friend only event," because I was a weird kid in high school. So I know what it's like to be the odd person out, and I never want to make somebody else feel bad. But when I'm having a private conversation at like a hotel restaurant during a convention, um it it gets awkward for me. It gets awkward having people standing around waiting to ask me a photo while I'm dressed up in cosplay and eating. I've had people sneak shots of me while I was eating because
Yeah.
they didn't want to bother me. And it's just, please, first of all, don't ever sneak a shot of somebody. Because like Shelby said, we do want to look good and we'll pose and you'll get a great photo. But also realize that if I'm going back to my hotel room, or I'm going to dinner, or I'm trying to run into the green room, or any of those things where I need a break, and I'm disabled too. I have really severe narcolepsy, so I take a lot of naps. And having somebody ask me, can I get a picture, and me saying no, I'm going to take a nap, that often gets written off by fans or just people in the community as me being incredibly rude. And me saying no to a picture or to a chat doesn't mean I don't like a person or that I'm not grateful for their support, but I have boundaries and I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my narcolepsy so I can be Pinkie Pie, so I can be Fluttershy, and I don't turn into a soul-sucking changeling demon.
Mood. Yeah. We've straight up had
Yeah.
bronies try to invite themselves to lunches with our friends. Like, they'll ask us for a picture. We'll say yes because we're nice people, and then like it would be in the middle of a conversation while we're talking about like, oh, let's go to Panera and get something to eat. And then once we finish taking the picture, we'll continue our conversation with our friends and have people try to invite themselves to like said meal with close friends. And it's just like,
Oh my god.
please understand the boundaries that are here.
I miss Panera.
You miss Panera? Well, when you come back, we'll take you there. What do you say, Nugget?
Remember, Lochlan, I have
Please.
there's a
Please.
Panera like so physically close to my apartment without saying where I live, obviously.
It's literally right
I
there.
think I've been
You
there.
see
Yeah,
think
I've
I've
probably
been to
taken
that
you when
Panera.
you visited that one time. If you like Panera.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hang out there in
It's a good-
Script.
it's a good
Everybody knows how much I
a
love
lot of the
Panera.
times. And I do sneaky things, like I'll buy a Panera cup, and then I'll just save it, and then I'll just walk in and get more soda. No one has to know. So,
Well, they do now.
no one, it's fine. Like,
Not if they take the shout.
Oh, yeah.
okay, yeah, I think we covered the basics. I mean, I could also like tell stories about that too. But yeah, just like don't do anything you're not supposed to do, like, and especially asking for if like you can put your arm around a woman, like
Don't kiss someone.
Without their consent, which
Don't kiss
just about
someone,
all.
period.
Just
Don't kiss someone.
Don't breathe down their necks
Ugh.
during a picture.
Don't say,
My queen. Yeah, that's a story. If you would like, I can tell the story. It's slightly long, but not.
Please.
Okay, so
Please, actually.
I talk about this story a lot, and I'm glad that it's become the staple. It's like an inside joke because now whenever anybody does something creepy, we're just like, my queen. So this was at BabsCon 2018, I believe, and I was in my Queen Chrysalis cosplay. It is so long ago now, I might have messed up some of the details, but I was in the dealer's room, just bugging it up,
Bugging
whatever.
it up.
And this guy comes out of nowhere and he's like, "Oh, Queen Chrysalis, you are my favorite villain. I am such a huge fan of you." And I'm just like, oh god. I'm like, I just didn't even like I'm okay with being in character, but I was already kind of like, this is cringe. I was like, do I want to give into the cringe and being in character? And I'm like, he's having so much fun. I'm gonna be nice for like 5 seconds. So I was like, "Oh, I thank you very much. I do appreciate your adoration," or whatever I said. I don't know. But then he was like, "Can I get a picture with you?" And I was like, "I suppose," or something like that. And he gets down on one knee and grabs my hand and kisses my hand in this picture without my consent. I have a lot of anxiety. When it comes to men. I'm married now, so I have a man in my life. But I was dating him.
he's
of
a
course.
good man,
Yeah, he's a
so.
good man. But
He's a good man. We love
but
him.
when you have instances like that, it just really freaks you out. So like, I feel like I had like this period of like disassociation because I was just like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? Like I just, it was like an out of body experience for me. Like the whole time I was just freaking out. And then I think we took another picture or something, and he put his arm around me and we took a picture. And then he just like breathed on my neck and he goes, "My queen." And I just, oh my gosh, Adam was there with me. He was holding my stuff. And like, I think he was feeling what I was feeling. Like we were both just like, and before I can even like yell at the guy for like being gross, he just like skittered off somewhere. Like they always move so fast. All the creepy bronies always move so fast and you can't do anything. So I'm like, oh my god. He just breathed down my neck. And then I had like one of the show staff, I'm not going to name her on the podcast, but she literally came to me from her booth and she was like asked me if I was okay. Like she had to try and like diffuse the situation a little bit, like to take me away from this dude. And I was just like, oh my god. When you have to have someone from the show who works on the show have to like step in to stop a brony, there's a problem. Like, so...
Well, think about it. They've seen
I'm
some
sure they
things.
dealt with some things themselves, being the actual people who work on the show. But like, I saw one of AC Racefest vlogs from the convention that same day, and he was talking to AC Racefest. He's on the camera, and he's talking normally. He does not sound creepy. He didn't try to kiss his hand or touch him or breathe down his neck. He sounded just like your average Joe Schmo. So I'm like, what is happening?
Mhm.
What is it about me wearing a costume that you just have to be so like disrespectful of my boundaries? And I wanted to just kind of curl up in a ball and cry. Like I just kept shuddering because I just felt this guy's breath on my neck for like the rest of the day. It was really uncomfortable. There was another time that like the day before I was in my Madame Pinky costume, and some guy like talked to me about the details of my costume and complimenting it, and I was like, oh, thank you. I pulled most of this out of my closet besides the turban, but everything else I already had. It was a closet cosplay, and it's one of my favorites. And he was like, oh, well, that's a really cool costume. Can I kiss you? And I'm like, I don't know you. I'm dating somebody, first of all. Secondly, I've literally been talking to you for maybe like 7 seconds. Why are you asking to kiss me? So
here's the rule of thumb, people. If you treat cosplayers like they are cast members at a Disney park. You wouldn't walk up to Ariel sitting there with security around her and ask her to kiss, for you to kiss her or anything. So treat cosplayers as cast members. You wouldn't do that in a Disney park. Don't do it at a convention. Don't do it at any gathering that has cosplayers. Just don't.
I've
always ask for permission for things, and even then,
had
don't
bronies
kiss them,
that straight up
please.
don't ask and then kiss me. The last year of BronyCon, I was one of the mascots, and there was a guy who came and he took a picture with all of us, and then right at the end, he kissed me on the cheek and then grabbed his stuff and ran away. I looked him square in the eyes and said, "Cosplay is not consent. Cosplay is not consent." I'm surprised that one of the staff members didn't run after him, because it was gross. It was wet. It was gross. There was this one guy at the first BronyCon I went to that he tried to hit it twice. Like, he
you had the beard the first time.
I had a beard.
You had the Star Swirl, the beard.
I was dressed like Star Swirl, and so we got a mouthful of beard the first time, and then afterwards I was like, I think that guy tried to kiss me.
Should have had the beard, man.
And then he tried it again the last day when I was in Sci-Twi. He tried to come at my face again, and I straight up told him no to the picture. Like, he was like, "Can I have a picture with you?" And I said, "No, I'm not taking pictures right now." And he's like, "Please, please, can I please have a picture?" And I said, "Okay, fine." And then I think that they had been doing this all weekend too, because I know that they did. They do it to you too, Sarah?
Oh yeah, I see, and that's the other thing. Like when things like that happen, like I have that, like I get frozen and I get scared, so I just can't react to anything. And so I don't even realize it happens until after the fact, which is why I can't defend myself. And it makes you feel guilty because you're like, why didn't I stand up for myself? But like I have a lot of trauma. So for me, it was like being in a situation like that, I just completely freeze up. But it happened to me too.
Yeah, I recognized him. So when he did it, I knew what was coming. So I don't know what his picture looked like, but I swerved so hard out of the way that he did not get anything that time. And then I just gave him my hand and I said, "Thank you for your picture. Have a nice day." And walked off with my friends because it was just incredibly uncomfortable. And at the time, I wasn't sure how to deal with that situation apart from just try to swerve the heck out of the way because no.
They kissed our friend who was a minor too. She was like 16. Yeah, and they kissed her. And so one of my friends went after them and was like, "Okay, no, you have no right to kiss her. She's not a child, but like she's a child. She's underage. You should not be kissing her, especially without her consent." Like she told them off. And I'm like, thank God, thank you for like doing that. One of them actually like outed themselves out to me on Twitter last year.
Oh my gosh, we finally found him.
And I was like, I recognized their username, and I would interact with them constantly. And I'm like, I had no idea, but thank you for outing yourself to me because we've been trying to find the one out of two of you for years.
This is the guy who kissed like that one year with the beard. And we were trying to remember what his name was for staff, but we couldn't remember. And then we were on Twitter and he posted a picture and I said, "Sarah, that's the guy. Sarah, that's the guy. Sarah. And she said, "It is the guy." And then we told our friend who was staff and she was like, "Hey, guess what? You are no longer allowed at this convention."
You don't kiss minors.
I want to see a picture too because I had so many problems. My first BronyCon, I did the gala the first year, and I was 17. And the amount of grown men who were trying to grind up against me while I was dancing, because I danced competitively. I did ballroom dancing competitively. I was a cheerleader. And so I love to dance. It's not something that, and especially at a pony convention when I'm 17, it shouldn't be something that's sexual. But I had guys who were just, groping me all up and down, trying to flip my skirt up. And I remember the next day, I can't remember who I was cosplaying the next day on Sunday. I think maybe it was Moon Dancer? No, I don't know who I was. But this was in 2014, so I was 17, and I saw the guy, and he came up to me, and we were near the harbor, and I snapped at him because this was the guy who was like trying to grind up against me, and I told a male security member about it, and he did nothing because he was like, "Well, I didn't see it, so it probably didn't happen. You're probably just overreacting." And I was like, I'm a kid. I am a kid.
There's no excuse
and
for that.
So, right. So I saw the guy who was grinding up against me, and I didn't know his name, but I saw him, and I walked up to him in front of his friends, and I was like, "I am Miss Baltimore Crabs, and I will push you into the freaking harbor if you ever touch me again, psycho."
Beautiful.
Yes. Well, you better bring that energy when we do Carmelita Spats and Esme.
Oh my gosh. Like, I don't even know. I crowned myself Miss Baltimore Crabs and threatened to push a man. Well, it's a song from Hairspray, and they also did like all of the PonyCon mascots and these crab hats, the BronyCon mascots. So it was like, I am the new Miss Baltimore Crabs. I will push you into the harbor. And yeah, I think after that, a lot of bronies knew to maybe not touch kids. I hoped so. I guess not.
We always hope that's the takeaway, but it never is.
like I shouldn't have to be no child, no person, but especially no child should have to defend themselves in that way.
It's just something that should be common knowledge. I guess to sort of like wrap it all together, like it's totally cool to come say hello. If a cosplayer says no to a picture because they're busy, please respect it and don't try and chase them and take the picture anyway, because that's something that happens a lot to us too, and that's even more infuriating, is that you don't respect our response. And almost always, if we say no, we'll say come to this panel or come at the end of our panel, because we always do a photo op session, so you have an opportunity. We always try to find a way to give you an opportunity, and we're never mean about pictures. If we're stressed at the time, you can see us running, so you can understand, okay, they're in a hurry, that's why they're saying no.
Well, and towards the end too, we were doing like 4 or 5, maybe 6 panels a day, and we had rehearsal for things too. So like if we say no, we're not saying it because we don't want to take a picture. We're saying it because we have to run to the convention center
event that we're doing.
We gotta run and change our costumes and our wigs and our full makeup. We gotta change everything. Like it's not because we don't like you. It's because we
have a job to do.
Yeah.
We love meeting new people. Any cosplayer would be more than happy to take a picture of someone, because it feels nice to know that your hard work with your costume is appreciated. And I've had a lot of really awesome interactions with followers, and even like giving them like tidbits on like how to make certain pieces or whatnot, or just having a casual conversation, and that's a beautiful thing. We love to interact. But I mean, it's just like a understand boundaries, understand space. Like you don't have to treat us like we're like porcelain dolls, like we're not gonna break, but just like respect that we don't want to be
treat
smooched.
Us like a person.
Yeah, we're literally just nerds in a costume. So, but that being said, just because we're in a person in a costume doesn't mean you could take advantage of us in the costume.
Treat us like a human, not in a costume.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're just another person walking down the street, just dressed like an anime character, because like who doesn't want to do that?
Honestly, I would do that every day if I could.
Yeah.
Frequently do, but not out in the street. I'll just film TikToks at 3 a.m, you know.
Yeah.
In an ever-changing world, and there's just going to be, if you're going out into the world, unfortunately, there are, I mean, there are good people, but there are also bad people. And it's just, trying to spread a message to the bad people that, no, you shouldn't do this. Or if you didn't know what the decorum was, it's important to know that anyway. It's safety. It's not trying to call out anybody specifically.
Yeah.
It's important to know. It's again, like back to that point of, there should be a safety video or a class or a panel.
The
or
most
anything
important
like that.
takeaway is that you can say no. If you are in cosplay and you feel uncomfortable, you can say no. You have that power.
And it's something you can practice too. I've practiced saying no with my therapist. So I'm in therapy. I do therapy twice a week because I have narcolepsy, and that kind of makes me a little bit grumpy, a little bit grumpier than I'd like to be. And I dealt with a lot of stuff at cons, so I have to work on boundaries. And we will practice scenarios. Like, so she'll ask me questions, and I practice saying no. I practice politely declining. I practice like, okay, say this situation happens. How will you respond? So learning that I can say no and that I can set these healthy boundaries has helped me so much, not only in cosplays and in conventions and in my professional life, but also just every day, just going to the grocery store, interacting with people on the street. Because, I do still live in South Africa, and I do still, have a lot of people, because you can't really go out after dark here because it's dangerous. And learning how to just say no to people and to be confident and be self-assured has helped me feel safer in another country during a pandemic. And it also makes me feel safer when going to professional events. And I do kind of include anime and pony and comic conventions as professional events as well, because it's my job.
Yeah.
And so boundaries are just incredibly important.
I think it's an important thing for parents to talk about their kids with too, because so much of the female experience is having to know you can say no to things. So it's an important thing for people to learn.
A lot of people are like, well, it comes with a territory, so you need to be able to expect it. And the fact that we have to like prepare ourselves because it's like such an ongoing thing is really frustrating. Like, you want to be smart and you want to be safe, but it just really sucks that because people aren't having this conversation and really, I don't want to say shaming, but, raising awareness about people who abuse the system and who don't understand consent, like, that we have to take repercussions for something else that somebody else is doing to us. That's a little frustrating sometimes.
I mean, really, the lesson should be don't say this to people, but instead the lesson that we're getting is guard yourself because somebody's going to say this to you.
Right. And we've mentioned female cosplayers a lot too, but this does happen to male cosplayers as well. And guys who are listening, because I have so many wonderful guy cosplay friends. I love my male cosplay friends, and they deal with a lot of the same harassment we do. So guys, don't feel bad about saying no either.
Yes, right.
Don't feel bad about turning down advances from women, because if women are being creepy to you, that is
call them out.
Still valid.
Not
You are still
okay.
valid.
You're valid. Well, and
Yeah,
the thing is, with men, they are scared to say no because of the way society views them. So say no. Everybody say no if you're uncomfortable.
I think I mean, I agree with you guys. It's just a shame that like people just don't have healthy boundaries in general, and especially, a lot of times the conventions can kind of bring out people that might not be used to being around a lot of pretty girls, or they do objectify them because they see the character in them, and that's really it, and they forget that there's someone underneath there. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm ugly underneath the makeup. I'm a troll.
the current trend that is, if you can't date a character, date a cosplayer. I hate it.
What?
Yeah, it's
Ew.
I saw it going around TikTok, but there's this trend that is, if you can't date a character, date a cosplayer. But the thing is, cosplayers are a goblin race that that just
I'm
likes
disgusting.
to shapeshift, and you don't know what you're getting if you date a cosplayer. What you're getting is a lot of anxiety and a lot of mess, because I know that as a member of the goblin race of cosplayers, I make a big ol' mess when I'm making costumes.
If men find out we can shapeshift, they're
going to tell the church!
I'm so sorry.
No, it's perfect. Okay, on a more positive note, like, how do you guys think, because cosplay, like, as we talked about earlier, cosplay is becoming, maybe, like, more mainstream is the way, where, like, the word, quote-unquote, where there's, like, sewing machines specifically made for cosplayers. There's, like, there's whole sections in fabric stores specifically for like, cosplay. So I'm wondering, like, from your guys' perspective, like, how you think cosplaying as a general thing that people do, at conventions to express themselves, how that has kind of changed how, people write like fiction, and people, like, if there's specific instances where characters are, like, at conventions. There was a Forced episode where Rainbow Dash went to a horse convention. So I'm just curious what you guys think about all that stuff.
I love it because I see cosplay as a form of self-expression and a way to pay homage to the show, the creators, the characters that you love. So I love that it's becoming mainstream because it's giving people the opportunity to express that love in a concrete way, even if they're just going to the thrift store and buying a purple vest and a t-shirt and saying, I guess I'm Twilight Sparkle, guys. Like, even if that's all they're doing, like, not wearing a wig, it doesn't matter. You're showing your love, your adoration, and you're showing that you care about the show.
And I love how cosplay and conventions becoming mainstream really are worked into cartoons now.
Oh, yes.
Off the top of my head, can't remember the episode, but there was one My Little Pony episode, I think, where Rainbow Dash went to an AK Yearling
Yeah, that's the one I
Daring Do
mentioned.
convention. And that was the funniest thing to me. Like, I think the guy's name was Quibble Pants, and him getting like all worked up about
I remember it
garbage.
trended that there was like a Daring Do body pillow in the episode. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh my god.
I mean,
it's so funny.
There's a Bob's Burgers episode where they literally go to a
Yes!
BronyCon.
When they go to a BronyCon, and it is so funny, and I love seeing episodes like that. I did a script reading at BabsCon a couple years ago, and in the script the ponies were going to another like pony comic book convention, and I played Fluttershy, but also Tabitha wrote me in as sexy cosplay girl.
Wow.
And I think that was, I have the script somewhere. It's back at home in storage, but it's like Lochlan, Fluttershy, and then comma, sexy cosplay girl. And I was so flattered. I'm like, oh, you remembered.
The scripts are so funny.
They are amazing. Oh my gosh. It's like I was so honored that I get to play sexy cosplay. And sexy cosplay girl was just like a one-off character. But she was like, yeah, I'm sexy, insert character here. And it was so funny because I was also up on stage in cosplay. So just the levels of humor were great.
And for those people who do not know, Tabitha St. Germain is an actor from My Little Pony. She plays Rarity and Princess Luna. I keep on having to translate non-horse things, but yeah, she is.
She would write little scripts that were like basically fan episodes and have the voice actors and some fans also go up there and read, and they were hilarious every time.
She is so funny.
She's like a fun, like, kook grandma, I think is the good way to describe it. Let's see. Lauren, do you want to ask the last question? Unless, we have other things we want to talk about, but we've been going for a while, so whatever.
I guess it's like, to round it out, I guess the final question, which somewhat feeds into the advice you gave earlier, but I was going to say, do you have any wisdom you'd like to impart or tips you'd like to share with listeners who want to
impart on the youth?
Try it. Just do it. Don't be afraid. Don't have the anxiety of, well, I'm not as good as X, Y, or Z cosplayer. Just do it. The first stepping stone for all of us is making a really I was about to say, I was gonna use a really ducking bad costume. That's the first step for all of us. Like, my first costume, I used my hair. I wore stuff from the thrift store. I was still incredibly proud of it, but it was not the best. Like, looking back at my other costumes, there was always room for improvement. And if you don't grow as a cosplayer, what are you doing? Get in there, try it, do it, and grow, my friend.
So my most important wisdom is have fun. Cosplay. It's cosplay. You're supposed to be playing. You're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to have fun.
Does the English?
I love that word.
It works.
It's so much fun being fun.
You're supposed to be having fun, and it's silly. It's kooky. You can be weird. You can be yourself. You can just enjoy it. It doesn't have to be perfection, and there is no shame in buying a full costume online.
Yep.
If you just want to dress up as a character and you don't want to make your own costume and you don't even want to thrift things, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Just buying a costume and dressing up and having fun, that makes you a cosplayer. It's all about having fun.
I guess for me, something that, like, I guess when I first started, I was really, really intimidated because I didn't have any skills in anything. I had interest and passion in learning more about makeup, but I didn't know anything. And I, for like maybe the first year, I just felt kind of inadequate. This is kind of segueing into what Shelby said. Like I felt like because I didn't have a strong skill set that I just wasn't good enough or I wasn't worthy. But don't be afraid to challenge yourself, because a lot of us start somewhere. I mean, we don't necessarily start in the same place, and that's okay, because there's no rules, there's no guidelines besides the consensual thing, of course. But like in terms of you creating your costume, there's no guidelines or rules telling you how you have to go about it. You do what fits for you. Everyone's got different time, everyone has got a different budget, everyone's got different strengths and weaknesses, and that's okay. Don't be afraid to explore. Like for me, I didn't learn how to sew until maybe like a year and a half into my cosplaying journey. And that's when I took a sewing class for a semester, and then I was self-taught from there. And I took a makeup class for a semester, and then I learned makeup from there. And then I eventually went to cosmetology school, and now I do that professionally and integrate that into my cosplay. And the cosplay kind of catered into me figuring out my career. So, and that's kind of the beauty of it, is because it is a journey, and everyone's journey is different. So don't like push yourself down because this person's great at sewing and I'm not. Focus on your strengths, focus on areas that you want to improve upon and that you want to challenge yourself to grow in. Like the possibilities genuinely are so endless. Like don't ever push yourself down because of what's other people are doing. Like you can get there, you can be great at things. You just have to have the heart and the passion for it and the determination to just go for it. There's really not a right or wrong way to start out. We all just start somewhere and we can grow, and there's not really an end point either. So there's always
always room to grow. There's always room to get better.
And it's always changing too. So there's, it's going to be a continuing evolution, which I think is really cool and really important for future generations and the younger generations to know. So it's not like it's going to end here. Like there'll be more opportunities and things in the future.
Cosplay 10 years ago was completely different than it was 10 years before that and 10 years from now. So don't let fear hold you back. Just jump in with your feet fully going forward. Do the thing, fam.
Just do it.
Yo.
Just
do
it.
Just do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do it.
Okay. Well, on that note, I think that's a good note to end. So, thanks for listening to Animation Communication. Thank our lovely, this was the girl power episode, essentially, because I don't think we've had, an all girl,
all about the
despise purple girls.
Thank you. Thank you to all you lovely ladies who have joined us today. We're happy to have you.
So happy to be here.
They're all good beans, so follow them. Oh, yeah, you guys plug yourself. Go plug yourself. Who wants to plug themselves?
I'm Sarahndipity Cosplay on literally everything, or Sarahndipity 212. Literally type in Sarahndipity on Google, Sarahndipity Cosplay, and you'll find all of my shenanigans. I do the TikToks and the Instagram and the Facebook, and I do Patreon, and I have a little bit on YouTube. I need to continue with YouTube, but I'm all over the place, and I just like to talk about things on the internet. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask me questions on any of those platforms. I will answer, and if I forget to answer, message me again until I do, because I would love to have a conversation and help give some resources and get you started on the path of creating costumes. So
Yeah.
I am Shelbeanie on Twitter, Shelbeanie Cosplay on Instagram and Facebook, and Shelbeanie143 on TikTok and YouTube. So again, just if you have any questions, send a question to me and I will answer it.
I am Lachlan O'Neill on literally everything. Just one word, Lachlan O'Neill, no apostrophe. Hopefully KP can just link it down
we'll do
below,
that, but
because my name spelling is a nightmare.
Yeah,
but I have a website, I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, I have a Facebook.
Making my website. It's fine.
I have a YouTube. I'm pretty much everywhere doing everything because I'm on lockdown and in South Africa and just doing my best. So there's not a whole lot of cosplay stuff up right now, mainly because of my circumstances. But when I move back to the States, I plan to start going to a lot more cons again, and I already have some on my list. So you guys will see me there. Just need to wait maybe 6 more months and we'll be good.
Yeah, Lochlan is already asking, like, what cons are you doing, Rachel? Like, we're gonna do them together, girl power. And I'm like, cool, I like Friends. So that is this story.
Yes, I like Friends too.
Yeah, if you're new, we do every episode. Words are hard. We put out every episodes every Wednesday for the most part, you know, and then obviously if you're super, super new, I'm a YouTuber, and you can look up I Love Kim Possible a lot in your Google-ness and, you know, watch some fun videos, I guess, if you want to. Please subscribe. It fills my soul with acceptance. I don't know. I'm rambling. Lauren, do you want to say anything?
I feel like everything's been said, but yeah, we'll provide all the links below for all the YouTube people. Yes, obviously we you know, for the new listeners, if you don't know, however you found us, you probably found us through YouTube or you probably found us through one of the podcast things. Either way, we post to both. So to close it out, yeah, just stay tuned. We have episodes. We aim to have episodes up every Wednesday. Starting in the early hours of the morning, we start posting to basically all streaming platforms. And then by the evening, we pretty much have a YouTube version with visualizer stuff, you know, fun stuff to look at while you have it on YouTube. So, yeah, we try to cover all the bases. Yeah, so stay tuned. And thank you again for joining us today. And thank you for listening, and thank you so much again, everybody, for joining us.
Cosplay is important. All right, have a good rest of you.
Cosplay is magic.
One of these days, Lauren. Straight to the moon. Anyway, have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Night, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Kimmunication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping this show makes a difference in how people view animation and media, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation or media industry. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and rate those 5 stars, as well as tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, and turn those notifications on. My name is Scribbler, and you have been listening to Animation Kimmunication.